The massive space station called Harmony Nexus floated in the darkness between stars. It was built like a giant wheel, spinning slowly to create gravity for the thousands of beings living inside. Ships from dozens of different worlds docked at its ports every day. Today was special. Today the humans were asking to join the Galactic Defense Coalition. Captain Lee Tae-ho stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the alien vessels surrounding them. His warship, the Soul's Pride, was huge compared to most ships. It looked like a floating metal mountain next to the sleek alien craft. The ship's hull was thick and dark, covered in armor plating that made it seem old and crude. "Captain," said Commander Park Soo-jin, his tactical officer. She was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "The alien fleets are positioning themselves around us. They want to get a good look at our ship." Lee nodded. He was a calm man in his 40s, with gray hair at his temples. He had fought in many battles, but today felt different. Today, humanity's future hung in the balance. "Let them look," he said quietly. "Let them see what they expect to see." On the station, Ambassador Choi Hee-jin walked through the Grand Council chamber. The room was enormous, with seats for representatives from over 50 different species. Some aliens looked like giant insects. Others had tentacles instead of arms. A few looked almost human, but with strange colored skin or extra eyes. The three most powerful military leaders sat in the front row. High Admiral Vextar of the Keth Empire was tall and thin, with silver skin that reflected the light. His uniform was covered in medals and decorations. War Chief Mordak of the Bruthan Confederation was the opposite, short and wide, with thick muscles and scars covering his red hide. Prime Navigator Silenth represented the Nexari Collective. She had blue-white skin and large black eyes that seemed to see everything. "So," Vextar said, his voice like cold metal, "the humans want to join our coalition. Tell me, Ambassador, what can your species possibly offer us?" Choi stood straight and proud. "We offer our strength, our loyalty, and our willingness to defend the galaxy alongside you." Mordak laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "Your strength? We have seen your ship, human. It moves like a dying whale through space. My fastest scouts could circle it 10 times before it could turn around." "Indeed," added Silenth, her voice soft but cutting. "Our sensors indicate your vessel uses primitive fusion drives. We abandoned such crude technology centuries ago. Your ship appears to be held together with metal plates and hope." The other aliens in the chamber began to whisper and laugh. Some made clicking sounds with their mouths. Others flashed colors across their skin to show amusement. The sound filled the chamber like a wave. Choi felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but she kept her voice steady. "Appearances can be deceiving. We request the standard military demonstration to prove our worth." Vextar's eyes gleamed. "A demonstration? Very well. But understand, human, we will not go easy on you because you are new to space war. You will face our best ships and our finest commanders." "We ask for nothing less," Choi replied. Back on the Soul's Pride, Chief Engineer Kim Do-won was busy, in the engine room. The space was filled with humming machinery and blinking lights. Kim was an older man with grease-stained coveralls and gentle hands that could fix anything. He ran his fingers along a control panel that looked ordinary from the outside. "How are our special systems?" asked Dr. Shin Nari, the ship's chief scientist. She was young for her position, barely 30, but her mind was one of the sharpest in human space. "All running perfectly," Kim smiled. "The aliens think we're using simple fusion drives. They have no idea what's really powering this ship." "Good. Captain Lee will need every advantage we can give him." On the bridge, Lieutenant Yoon Ji-woo sat at the communication station. She was the youngest officer on the bridge, fresh from the academy. Her fingers danced across her controls as she listened to alien radio chatter. "Sir," she said to Captain Lee, "the aliens are talking about us on their private channels. They're calling us the Metal Brick and the Human Turtle. They're betting on how quickly they can defeat us." Sergeant Major Oh Sang-ho, the ship's Marine commander, growled from his position near the weapons station. He was a big man with scars from a dozen battles. Let them talk. Actions speak louder than words. Captain Lee watched the alien ships move into position around them. Vextar's fleet consisted of long, needle-like vessels that gleamed like silver knives. Their hulls were smooth and perfect, with no visible weapons or engines. They moved through, space like dancers, graceful and fast. Mordak's ships were different. They looked like flying hammers, thick and brutal, with spikes and armor covering every surface. Red lights glowed along their hulls like angry eyes. They flew in tight formations, ready to smash through anything in their path. Silenth's vessels were the strangest of all. They seemed to be made of crystal and light, changing colors as they moved. Sometimes they looked solid. Sometimes they appeared to fade in and out of existence. Watching them hurt the eyes. Impressive, Park Soo-jin said quietly. Their technology is far ahead of what most species possess. On the surface, Lee agreed. But remember, Soo-jin, we are not most species. The captain activated the ship's intercom system. His voice carried to every part of the Soul's Pride, reaching the over 3,000 crew members aboard. Attention, crew. Today we face a test unlike any we have encountered before. 3 of the galaxy's most powerful fleets have challenged us to prove our worth. They look at our ship and see something old and slow. They see what they think is primitive human technology. Let them keep thinking that. When the time comes, we will show them what humans are really capable of. But until that moment, we play our part. We let them underestimate us. We let them think they know us. And then, when they least expect it, we show them the truth about human engineering. He paused, looking out at the alien fleets. Today we do not fight just for ourselves. We fight for every human who dreams of walking among the stars. We fight for our children's future. We fight to prove that humanity belongs in this galaxy. All hands prepare for combat demonstration. This is Captain Lee. End transmission. The bridge fell silent except for the soft humming of computers and the distant sound of the ship's engines. Everyone knew what was at stake. If they failed today, humanity might never get another chance to join the galactic community. Earth would remain alone, cut off from the vast network of worlds and species that spanned the galaxy. But if they succeeded, if they could prove themselves against these odds, humanity would take its place among the stars as equals, not as beggars asking for scraps. Vextar's voice crackled over the communication channel. Human vessel Soul's Pride, you will proceed to the asteroid field designated Theta 7. There you will face our combined fleets in simulated combat. You have 1 hour to prepare. Try not to embarrass yourselves too badly. The channel closed. With a burst of static and alien laughter, Captain Lee smiled for the first time that day. It was not a kind smile. 1 hour, he said to his crew. 1 hour to change the course of human history. The Soul's Pride began to move, its engines glowing brighter. To the watching aliens, it looked like a lumbering giant struggling to keep up. They had no idea that they were watching the most advanced warship humanity had ever built. The demonstration was about to begin. The asteroid field called Theta 7 stretched across millions of kilometers of space. Huge rocks floated in the darkness, some as small as houses, others as big as cities. This was where the aliens had decided to test the humans. It was the perfect place for a space battle. Plenty of cover, lots of obstacles, and far enough from any planets that no one would get hurt if things went wrong. The Soul's Pride moved slowly through the edge of the field. Its massive bulk seemed clumsy, compared to the alien ships that danced around it like flies around a sleeping giant. Captain Lee stood on his bridge watching the enemy fleets take their positions. He looked calm, but inside he was calculating every angle, every possibility. "Status report," he said quietly. Lieutenant Yoon Ji-woo looked up from her console. "Sir, I'm picking up a lot of chatter between the alien fleets. They're not even trying to hide their communications. They think we can't understand their languages or break their codes." "What are they saying?" "They're arguing about who gets to attack us first. High Admiral Vextar wants to demonstrate his plasma lance technology. War Chief Mordak says his ships should test our defenses with a speed run. Prime Navigator Sil Nth Wants to drain our power systems with her energy weapons. Captain Lee nodded. They're so confident they're discussing strategy in the open. Good. Let them be overconfident. Dr. Shin Nari entered the bridge carrying a tablet filled with data. She was excited but trying to hide it. Captain, the alien ships are scanning us constantly. They're trying to figure out our technology, but our masking systems are working perfectly. All they can detect are the fake fusion signatures we're projecting. Any trouble with the quantum systems? None at all. The aliens don't even know to look for quantum signatures. Their sensors can't detect what they don't understand. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Kim Do-won was making final adjustments to the ship's power systems. The real engines, the ones hidden deep inside the ship's core, were running quietly. To any outside observer, the Soul's Pride was powered by simple fusion reactors, the kind most species had used centuries ago. Major Han Min-soo, Kim spoke into his communicator. Are your people ready? The reply came from somewhere deep in the ship's launch bays. All stealth fighters are prepped and loaded. The aliens have no idea we're carrying a full squadron. Their sensors show empty cargo holds. Specialist Kang Yu-jin, what about the special weapons? Quantum torpedoes are charged and ready, sir. Gravitational mine launchers are loaded. Everything is running perfectly. Kim smiled. The aliens thought they were looking at a primitive human warship. They had no idea they were staring at technology that wouldn't exist in their civilizations for another 1,000 years. On the observation deck of Harmony Nexus, hundreds of alien dignitaries had gathered to watch the demonstration. Giant screens showed the battle area from multiple angles. The mood was festive, like a crowd gathering to watch a sporting event where the outcome was already decided. Look at that human ship, laughed one alien ambassador. It moves like a mountain trying to swim. I almost feel sorry for them, said another. They have no idea what they're about to face. Ambassador Choi Hye-jin stood in the back of the viewing area, trying to ignore the comments. She knew something the aliens didn't. She had seen the Soul's Pride's real capabilities during classified tests near Earth. But those tests had been secret, hidden from alien spy networks. As far as the galaxy knew, humans were still using primitive technology. Back in the asteroid field, High Admiral Vextar decided to make the first move. His flagship, a beautiful silver vessel called the Star Pierce, glided forward like a knife cutting through water. It was twice as long as any human ship, but only a fraction of the width. Weapons ports along its hull began to glow with deadly light. Attention, human vessel. Vextar's voice echoed across space. Prepare to witness the power of Keth Plasma Lance technology. We will demonstrate on the asteroid to your port side. The Star Pierce turned slightly, aiming at a massive rock floating nearby. The asteroid was easily a kilometer across, made of solid iron and stone. Energy began building along the alien ship's spine, creating a line of brilliant white light. Firing, Vextar announced. The plasma lance erupted from the Star Pierce like a spear of pure energy. It struck the asteroid dead center and punched completely through it. The massive rock split in half, both pieces glowing with heat. Smaller debris scattered in all directions. Impressive, Captain Lee said calmly. Commander Park, analysis? Park Soo-jin studied her tactical displays. Pure energy weapons, sir. Very powerful, but it takes several seconds to charge between shots. The focusing system creates a predictable energy signature before firing. Weaknesses? The weapon draws power from their main engines during charging. For about 3 seconds before each shot, their ship's maneuverability drops significantly. Lee nodded. File that information away. We may need it later. War Chief Mordak wasn't about to be outdone. His ships suddenly burst forward, their engines blazing red. They moved incredibly fast, weaving between asteroids like they were threading needles. The brutish-looking vessels were much more agile than they appeared. Humans! Mordak's voice boomed across the communication channels. Watch, as we show you real speed. His fleet of 12 ships split into 4 groups, each moving in a different direction. They began flying complex patterns around the Soul's Pride, creating a web of movement that was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Each ship was bristling with weapons, missile tubes, energy cannons and boarding pods for close combat. They're fast, Park Soo-jin admitted. Faster than our public specifications suggest we can handle. But are they faster than our real capabilities? Lee asked. Park smiled. Not even close, sir. Finally, Prime Navigator Silenth decided to display her fleet's abilities. The crystal ships began to change, their hulls shifting from solid to translucent to completely transparent. Energy weapons that looked like flowing liquid light emerged from hidden ports. Humans. Silenth's musical voice filled the communication channels. Observe the advanced technology of the Nexari Collective. The crystal ships fired beams of pure energy at several asteroids, but instead of destroying them, the beams seemed to drain something from the rocks. The asteroids began to crack and crumble, not from impact, but from having their molecular bonds weakened. Energy drain technology, Dr. Shinari whispered. They're disrupting the atomic structure of matter itself. Can our shields handle it? Lee asked. Our real shields? Absolutely. Our fake shields. She grinned. Well, we'll have to put on a good show. Sergeant Major Oh Sang-ho stepped forward. Captain, with respect, these aliens are showing off their best weapons. They're trying to scare us before the real fight even begins. I know, Sergeant Major, and it's working perfectly. Sir? They're so busy trying to impress us that they're revealing all their capabilities. Every weapon they fire, every maneuver they make gives us more information about how to beat them. The alien fleets had finished their demonstrations. The three commanders opened a joint communication channel to the Soul's Pride. Well, humans, Vextar said, his voice full of arrogance. You have seen what you face. We give you one final chance to withdraw with dignity. Your ship is impressive for its size, added Mordak, but size means nothing if you cannot use it effectively. Silenth's voice was almost kind. There is no shame in recognizing when you are outmatched. Perhaps in a few centuries your species will develop technology worthy of this coalition. Captain Lee looked around his bridge. His crew were all watching him, waiting for his response. These people had trained for years for this moment. Every system on the ship had been designed and built with this day in mind. He opened the communication channel. Honored Admirals, he said, his voice perfectly respectful. We appreciate your demonstrations. Your technology is indeed impressive. However, we must respectfully decline your offer to withdraw. Very well, Vexitar replied coldly. The combat exercise will begin in 10 minutes. Rules are simple. Disable our ships or force us to retreat, and you pass the test. Fail, and humanity's application to join the coalition is rejected permanently. Understood, Lee said. We accept your terms. The communication channels closed. The alien fleets began moving into attack positions, their ships spreading out to surround the Soul's Pride from all directions. Captain, Yoon Ji-woo said quietly, they're positioning for a coordinated assault. All three fleets will attack simultaneously. They want to end this quickly, Park Soo-jin added. Maximum force from the beginning. Lee walked to the center of his bridge and sat down in the captain's chair. All stations, battle stations, but remember, we're not ready to show them everything yet. Let them think they're winning at first. Warning lights began flashing throughout the ship. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for combat. But they weren't preparing for the kind of combat the aliens expected. Sir, Dr. Shinari said, permission to begin Phase 1 of the Deception Protocol? Captain Lee looked out at the alien fleet surrounding his ship. Dozens of advanced warships, each one representing centuries of technological development, all focused on destroying what they thought was a primitive human vessel. Permission granted, he said. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. The Soul's Pride began to move, slowly and apparently clumsily. The battle began exactly as the aliens expected it would, with them completely in control. High Admiral Vextar's silver ship struck first. The Starpierce and its escort vessels moved in perfect formation, their plasma lances charging with deadly light. The weapons fired in sequence, sending spears of white-hot energy toward the Soul's Pride. Captain Lee watched the incoming fire, on his displays. "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered calmly. "Make it look like we're struggling." The massive human ship began to turn, its movements appearing slow and clumsy. The first plasma lance barely missed the hull, close enough to superheat the outer armor. The second shot grazed the ship's port side, causing sparks and what looked like minor damage. "Sir," Lieutenant Yoon Ji-woo called out, playing her part perfectly. "Hull breach on Deck 15. Damage control teams are responding." The aliens watching from Harmony Nexus cheered. On their screens, the human ship looked like it was already in trouble. Smoke seemed to pour from the damaged sections, but on the Soul's Pride's bridge, everyone was calm. The damage was just special effects, controlled venting of harmless gases and programmed light displays. The real hull hadn't even been scratched. "Phase 1 is working perfectly," Dr. Shin Nari whispered to Captain Lee. "They think our shields are failing." War Chief Mordak saw what he thought was an opportunity. His brutal red ships accelerated to attack speed, moving so fast they became blurs of motion. They came at the Soul's Pride from 6 different directions, firing missiles and energy weapons. The human ship seemed to panic, spinning around to try to face the attacks. Its weapons, old-looking laser cannons and missile tubes, fired desperately in all directions. Most of the shots missed completely. The few that hit the Bruthan ships barely scratched their armor. Pathetic. Mordak laughed over the communication channels. "Is this the best humanity can do?" But Commander Park Soo-jin was smiling as she watched her tactical displays. Every missed shot, every seemingly panicked movement, was exactly planned. The Soul's Pride wasn't trying to hit the enemy ships. It was mapping their locations, their speed patterns, their weaknesses. "Target analysis complete," she reported quietly to Captain Lee. "I know exactly how fast each enemy ship can move, how quickly they can turn, and where their blind spots are." Prime Navigator Silenth decided it was time to end the fight. Her crystal ships became translucent, making them harder to target, and began firing their energy drain weapons. The beams of liquid light struck the Soul's Pride's hull, and immediately the human ship's power systems began to flicker. "Power levels dropping," Chief Engineer Kim Do-won announced, his voice full of fake panic. "They're draining our energy reserves." The ship's lights dimmed. Weapons stopped firing. The engines seemed to struggle to keep the massive vessel moving. To everyone watching, it looked like the Soul's Pride was about to lose power completely. "Surrender now." Silenth's voice was almost gentle. "And we will allow your crew to evacuate safely." Captain Lee stood up from his chair, his face grim. He looked like a man who had just realized his ship was doomed. "All hands," he said over the intercom, his voice heavy with defeat. "Prepare for—" Then he smiled. "Prepare for Phase 2. Suddenly, everything changed. The Soul's Pride's engines roared to life. Not the weak fusion drives the aliens expected, but something far more powerful. The ship shot forward like a bullet, moving faster than any vessel its size should be able to move. "Impossible!" Vextar shouted. "No ship that large can move that fast." But the Soul's Pride was just getting started. As it accelerated, small objects began launching from hidden ports along its hull. They looked like tiny asteroids, dark and unremarkable. The alien sensors barely noticed them. The objects were gravitational mines, each one containing a miniature black hole generator. As they spread throughout the asteroid field, they began creating invisible gravity wells, bending space itself. Major Han Min-soo sat in the cockpit of his stealth fighter, hidden deep inside the Soul's Pride's launch bay. Around him, 11 other pilots waited for their moment. Their ships were completely invisible to alien sensors, using technology that wouldn't exist in most civilizations for centuries. "Go Squadron," Captain Lee's voice came through their headphones. "You are cleared for launch." The stealth fighters launched through hidden openings in the ship's hull. They spread out through the battlefield like invisible hunters, their sensors recording everything about the alien ships. Engine signatures, weapon placements, shield frequencies. Every piece of information that would be needed for the real battle. The aliens had no idea they were being watched. War Chief Mordak tried to ram the Soul's Pride with his fastest ship, a brutal vessel designed to crash through enemy hulls. But as he accelerated toward the human ship, something strange happened. His vessel began to curve away from its target, pulled by invisible forces. "What's happening?" he roared at his crew. "Why are we turning?" His navigation officer looked terrified. "Sir, there are gravity anomalies throughout the field. It's like space itself is bent. The gravitational mines were working perfectly. Every enemy ship that tried to move in a straight line found itself pulled off course. Their carefully planned attack formations fell apart as invisible forces twisted their movements." High Admiral Vextar fired his plasma lances again, but the beams curved away from the Soul's Pride, bent by the gravitational distortions. "This is impossible. Humans don't have this technology." Prime Navigator Silenth's energy drain weapons were still hitting the human ship, but something was wrong. Instead of weakening, the Soul's Pride seemed to be getting stronger. Its engines burned brighter, its weapons charged faster. "Sir," her tactical officer reported, "the human ship isn't losing power. It's absorbing our energy attacks and using them to charge its own systems." On the Soul's Pride's bridge, Specialist Kang Yu-jin monitored the quantum absorption systems. The alien energy weapons were feeding power directly into the ship's weapons. "Energy reserves at 150% and climbing," she reported. "They're charging our guns for us." Captain Lee walked to the front of his bridge, looking out at the confused alien fleets. "Communications. Open a channel to all enemy vessels." "Channel open, sir." Lee's voice carried across space to every alien ship. "Honored Admirals, thank you for the demonstration. Now please allow us to show you what human technology can really do." The Soul's Pride suddenly stopped moving. For a moment it hung motionless in space, surrounded by enemy ships that were struggling against invisible gravitational forces. Then the ship began to change. Armor plating along the hull slid aside, revealing weapons that looked like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Energy began building in the ship's core, not the weak fusion signature they expected, but something that made their instruments scream with warnings. "Ghost Squadron," Lee said calmly. "Reveal yourselves." 12 stealth fighters suddenly appeared throughout the battlefield, their cloaking systems shutting down. They materialized next to alien ships, so close they could have reached out and touched the enemy hulls. The pilots had spent the last 10 minutes studying every enemy vessel. They knew exactly where each ship's weapons were located, where their engines were most vulnerable, where their shields were weakest. "All fighters," Major Han Min-soo's voice was steady and professional. "Target enemy weapon systems. Disable, don't destroy. We want them alive to tell others what they've seen." High Admiral Vextar's tactical officer was staring at his displays in shock. "Sir, these fighters, our computers show they've been scanning us for the last 10 minutes. They know everything about our ships. But we never detected them." "I know, sir, they were completely invisible until now. War Chief Mordek tried to turn his ships to face the new threat. But the gravitational mines made precise movement impossible. His vessels twisted and spun, pulled by forces he couldn't see or understand." "Engineering," he shouted. "Can we break free of these gravity distortions?" "Negative, sir. Whatever's causing this, it's beyond our technology. We've never seen anything like it." Prime Navigator Silenth's crystal ships tried to become transparent to avoid the human fighters, but it didn't work. The stealth craft seemed to be tracking them through methods that had nothing to do with visible light. "They're using quantum sensors," her science officer reported, his voice full of disbelief. "They can see us no matter how we change our hull composition." On the observation deck of Harmony Nexus, the crowd of alien dignitaries had gone completely silent. The screens showing the battle displayed impossible things. Human ships moving faster than physics should allow. Weapons that bent space itself. Fighters that could become completely invisible. "This can't be real," whispered one ambassador. "The humans were hiding all of this?" said another. Ambassador Choi Hye-jin allowed herself a small smile. She had known this moment would come, but seeing it happen was still amazing. Back on the DAS, Soul's Pride Captain Lee looked at his tactical display. The alien fleets were trapped, confused, and completely outmaneuvered. Their advanced technology meant nothing against weapons they didn't understand and couldn't counter. Sir, Commander. Park Soo-jin reported, all enemy vessels are within optimal firing range. Gravitational men. The moment Captain Lee gave the order, everything changed. The Soul's Pride unleashed weapons the aliens had never imagined possible. Quantum torpedoes phased through space itself, passing through enemy shields like they didn't exist. Each torpedo found its target with impossible accuracy, striking weapon systems and engines with surgical precision. High Admiral Vexitar watched in horror as his beautiful silver ships were disabled one by one. The quantum torpedoes didn't explode like normal weapons. They simply touched his vessels and made their weapons stop working. How are they doing this? He demanded. Our shields are at full power. Sir, his tactical officer's voice shook with fear. Their weapons aren't hitting our shields, they're going through them, through space itself. It's like they're attacking us from another dimension. The Starpierce tried to fire its mighty plasma lance, but nothing happened. The weapon's focusing crystal had been changed at the molecular level by a quantum torpedo. It was still physically there, but it no longer worked. War Chief Mordak's red ships fared no better. The gravitational mines had pulled them into perfect positions for the human fighters to attack. Ghost Squadron moved like deadly dancers, striking, with precision weapons that targeted specific systems. Major Han Minsu's fighter swooped past Mordak's flagship, firing a single pulse that shut down the ship's main engines. The massive vessel began to spin helplessly, its crew unable to regain control. Impossible, Mordak roared. My ship has the best armor in the galaxy. How did they penetrate it? Sir, his chief engineer reported, they didn't penetrate the armor. They somehow reached inside the ship and damaged the engine directly. I don't understand how they did it. Prime Navigator Silenth's crystal ships tried to escape by becoming completely transparent, but it was useless. The human fighters tracked them perfectly, using sensors that worked on principles the Nexari didn't understand. Her flagship shuddered as a quantum torpedo struck its power core. The ship didn't explode. Instead, its energy system simply stopped working. The beautiful crystal hull began to fade as the power that maintained its structure failed. Engineering report, Silenth called out. My lady, her chief scientist's voice was filled with wonder and terror. They have rewritten the quantum structure of our power crystals. The energy patterns that held our systems together have been changed. This should be impossible with any known physics. On the Soul's Pride's bridge, everyone worked with calm efficiency. This wasn't a desperate battle. It was a carefully planned demonstration of human capabilities. Enemy weapon systems are at 12% effectiveness, Commander Park Soo-jin reported. Their engines are operating at 30%. All three fleets are effectively disabled. Chief Engineer Kim Do-won's voice came through the intercom from the engine room. Captain, our power absorption systems are at maximum capacity. The alien energy weapons have given us enough stored power to run the ship for 6 months. Dr. Shin, Nari looked up from her science station, her eyes bright with excitement. Sir, the quantum torpedoes are working even better than we hoped. We're not just disabling their systems. We're teaching them that their technology has fundamental limitations. They never imagined. Captain Lee nodded. Excellent. Communications. Open a channel to the alien fleets. Lieutenant Yoon Ji-woo's fingers flew over her controls. Channel open, sir. Lee's voice carried across the battlefield to the disabled alien ships. Honored, Admirals, we hope this demonstration has been educational. Your ships are disabled but undamaged. Your crews are safe. We could have destroyed you, but that was never our intention. High Admiral Vextar's reply came through static-filled communication equipment. What are you? We are humans, Lee replied simply. We are what you thought we were, and we are what you never imagined we could be. War Chief Mordak's voice was filled with rage and confusion. This is impossible. Humans are supposed to be primitive. Your ships are supposed to be crude and slow. Our ships are exactly as slow as we want them to be, Lee answered. Speed is useful, but it's not everything. Sometimes it's better to let your enemies think they know what you can do. Prime Navigator. Silenth's musical voice was quiet, thoughtful. How long have you possessed this technology? Long enough, Lee said. But that's not the important question. The important question is, What happens next? On Harmony Nexus, the observation deck was completely silent. Hundreds of alien dignitaries stared at the screens showing impossible things. The crude human ship they had mocked was now revealed to be the most advanced vessel any of them had ever seen. "They were pretending," whispered one ambassador. "This whole time they were pretending to be primitive." "But why?" asked another. "Why hide such incredible technology?" Ambassador Choi Hee-jin stepped forward, her voice carrying clearly through the silent chamber. "Because we learned something important from studying galactic history. Advanced civilizations rarely help primitive ones. They conquer them or ignore them. But if two civilizations meet as equals, they can become allies." The implications of her words sank in slowly. The humans hadn't revealed their technology because they wanted to be accepted as equals, not feared as conquerors or dismissed as primitives. Back in the asteroid field, the alien commanders were trying to understand what had happened to them. Their most advanced warships had been disabled by weapons they couldn't comprehend, using principles of physics they had never encountered. "Captain Lee." Vextar's voice was different now, respectful instead of arrogant. "May I ask a question?" "Of course. This ship of yours, it's not really slow, is it?" Lee smiled, even though the alien couldn't see him. "The Soul's Pride is capable of moving faster than any ship in your fleets. But speed isn't always about raw velocity. Sometimes the fastest way to win is to let your opponent defeat himself. And the weapons that pass through our shields? Quantum technology. Your shields protect against energy and matter from this dimension. Our weapons attack from quantum space, a place where your shields don't exist." War Chief Mordak's voice was grudging but impressed. "The invisible fighters? Advanced stealth technology combined with quantum sensors. Your ships are designed to hide from the kind of sensors you understand. Ours work differently." Prime Navigator Silanth asked the question they were all thinking. "How far ahead of us is human technology?" Captain Lee was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle but firm. "That's not the right way to think about it. We're not ahead or behind, we're different. Humans developed technology along paths that other species never explored. We had to. We were alone in space for so long that we had no choice but to find new ways of doing things." He paused, looking at his crew. His human crew who had spent years preparing for this moment. "You asked us to prove we belong in the galactic community. We hope we have done so, but we also hope we have shown you something else, that diversity of thought and approach makes everyone stronger. Human technology could help your civilization solve problems you've never been able to solve, and your knowledge could help us in ways we haven't imagined yet." The communication channels fell silent as the alien commanders absorbed his words. Their ships floated helplessly in space, their weapons useless, their engines barely functioning. But they weren't destroyed. The humans had disabled them without causing permanent damage. Specialist Kang Yu-jin looked up from her station. "Sir, quantum torpedo effects will begin wearing off in approximately 30 minutes. Enemy ships will regain full functionality." "Thank you, Specialist. Go Squadron, return to base. Gravitational mines begin shutdown sequence." The invisible human fighters began disappearing again, fading from alien sensors as their cloaking systems reactivated. The gravity distortions throughout the asteroid field slowly returned to normal, allowing the alien ships to regain control of their movement. Sergeant Major Oh Sang-ho stepped up to Captain Lee. "Sir, the aliens will remember this day. Word will spread throughout their civilizations." "Yes," Lee agreed. "That's exactly what we want." Today, 3 of the galaxy's most powerful fleets learned that humanity is not what it appears to be. Tomorrow, every species in the galaxy will know that humans are a force to be respected, not ignored. Commander Park Soo-jin was studying her tactical displays. "Captain, we've proven our point, but what if they decide we're too dangerous? What if they unite against us instead of accepting us?" It was a good question, and Lee had been thinking about it for months. "Then we'll face that challenge when it comes. But I don't think it will happen. Look at their ships. We disabled them, but we didn't destroy them. We could have killed every alien in this system, but we chose not to. That choice will be remembered. Dr. Shinnari nodded in agreement. The demonstration was about showing strength, but also about showing restraint. Any species can build weapons to destroy enemies. It takes wisdom to build weapons that can disable enemies without killing them. Lieutenant Yoon Jiwoo's console chimed with an incoming message. Sir, we're receiving communications from Harmony Nexus. The Galactic Council wants to speak with us immediately. Captain Lee straightened his uniform and walked back to his command chair. Very well. Let's go see what the galaxy thinks of humanity now. The Soul's Pride began moving toward the space station, no longer pretending to be slow or clumsy. It moved with the grace and power of an apex predator. The Soul's Pride was halfway back to Harmony Nexus when the situation changed completely. Captain, Lieutenant Yoon Ji-woo's voice cracked with tension. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, large fleet formations jumping into the system. Captain Lee spun to face the tactical display. What he saw made his blood run cold. Dozens of ships were appearing out of hyperspace, not just 3 fleets, but entire armadas from multiple species. Identify those vessels, he ordered. Commander Park Soo-jin's fingers flew over her controls. Sir, I'm reading Keth Empire battleships, Bruthan war fleets, Nexari dreadnoughts, and at least 6 other species. Over 200 ships total. Hi. Admiral Vextar's voice crackled over the communication channels, but now he sounded different, worried instead of defeated. Captain Lee, I must warn you. What you did to us today, it was broadcast live across the galaxy. Every major power saw the demonstration. War Chief Mordak's communication followed immediately. The other species are afraid, human. They think you are too dangerous to be allowed to live. Prime Navigator Silenth's musical voice was sad. We tried to tell them that you showed mercy, that you could have destroyed us but chose not to. They do not care. They see only that you possess technology that makes their fleets obsolete. Captain Lee looked around his bridge. His crew was calm, professional, but he could see the worry in their eyes. The Soul's Pride was powerful, but not powerful enough to fight off 200 enemy warships. Communications, he said quietly. Get me a channel to Earth Command, Priority Alpha. The main screen flickered, and Admiral Song Kyung-ho appeared. The fleet admiral was an old man with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Behind him, the command center on Luna was filled with activity. Captain Lee, Admiral Song said without greeting. We've been monitoring the situation. Analysis shows hostile intent from all incoming fleets. Yes, sir. Requesting permission to withdraw to safe distance. Admiral Song was quiet for a moment. Negative, Captain. Withdrawal now would be seen as weakness. The galaxy would hunt humanity across space until they found Earth. Lee felt his stomach drop. Sir, we're facing overwhelming odds. I know. That's why I'm authorizing the use of Project Stellar Hammer. Every person on the bridge froze. Stellar Hammer was humanity's most classified project, a weapon so powerful that only 5 people in the entire human government knew it existed. Dr. Lim Yoon-seo appeared on a side screen from her laboratory on Europa. She was a small woman with wild gray hair and eyes that burned with scientific curiosity. Captain Lee, the theoretical framework has been tested. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Doctor, Lee said carefully, are you certain this will work? 97% certain. The other 3%. Well, if we're wrong, the entire solar system might cease to exist. Chief Engineer Kim Do-won stepped forward. Captain, what exactly is Stellar Hammer? Dr. Lim answered before Lee could speak. We've learned to manipulate stellar energy on a massive scale. The Soul's Pride can tap directly into this system's star and redirect its power as a weapon. The implications hit everyone at once. They weren't just talking about ship weapons or even planetary bombardment. They were talking about weaponizing a star itself. Sir, Commander Park Soo-jin said quietly, if we use that kind of power, every species in the galaxy will know that humans can destroy entire systems. Yes, Admiral Song replied from the screen, and they'll think twice before threatening us again. The enemy fleets were forming up around the Soul's Pride. The human ship was completely surrounded, outnumbered nearly 200 to 1. On Harmony Nexus, alien dignitaries watched in horror as their civilizations prepared to destroy humanity. Ambassador Choi Hyejin stood in the council chamber, facing representatives from species she had never seen before. Many of them had traveled across the galaxy just to witness humanity's destruction. "You have seen what these humans can do," declared an alien with crystal skin and 4 arms. "They possess technology that threatens the natural order of things. They must be eliminated before they grow stronger." "Agreed," hissed a serpentine creature with scales that shifted colors. "No single species should have such power. It upsets the balance." Choi tried to speak, but her voice was drowned out by angry alien voices calling for human extinction. Back on the Soul's Pride, the crew was preparing for what might be their final battle. Sergeant Major Oh Sang-ho was checking weapons systems that had never been used in combat. Major Han Min-soo was briefing his stealth pilots on suicide runs against enemy command ships. "Captain," Dr. Shin Nari said from her science station, "I'm detecting energy buildup in the enemy fleets. They're preparing to fire everything they have at us simultaneously." Lee nodded grimly. "Very well. All hands, this is the captain. We face impossible odds, but we will not surrender. Today we show the galaxy that humanity cannot be intimidated or destroyed. Today we show them the true power of human determination." He turned to Chief Engineer Kim. "Begin charging Stellar Hammer." Kim's hands moved over controls that accessed the most secret systems ever built into a human starship. Deep in the ship's core, machinery that bent the laws of physics began to wake up. "Sir," Specialist Kang Yu-jin reported, "stellar tap systems are coming online. I'm reading quantum fluctuations in local space-time." The enemy fleets began their attack. Energy beams, missiles, plasma bolts, and weapons of types humans had never seen before filled the space around the Soul's Pride. The ship's shields flared with incredible brightness as they absorbed impossible amounts of energy. But something strange was happening. Instead of weakening under the assault, the Soul's Pride seemed to be getting brighter. "Energy absorption at 300% capacity," Kim reported. "The enemy weapons are feeding power directly into Stellar Hammer." War Chief Mordak watched from his repaired flagship as his most powerful weapons struck the human ship. "Why isn't it dying? Nothing can survive that much firepower." His tactical officer's voice was filled with awe. "Sir, the human ship isn't just surviving the attack. It's absorbing the energy and using it to power something big." High Admiral Vextar was having similar thoughts. The Soul's Pride was glowing like a small sun, energy cascading off its hull in patterns that hurt to look at. "What are they doing?" he whispered. Prime Navigator Silenth's instruments were screaming with warnings. "My lady, I'm detecting massive gravitational distortions. Whatever the humans are doing, it's affecting the fabric of space itself." On the Soul's Pride's bridge, Captain Lee watched his displays show numbers that should have been impossible. The ship was drawing power not just from enemy weapons, but from the star at the center of the system. "Stellar Hammer at 50% charge," Dr. Shin Nari reported. "Captain, the energy readings are unlike anything in our simulations." "Will it work?" "It will work. The question is whether it will work too well." The enemy fleets poured more fire into the human ship, desperate to destroy it before whatever it was planning could come to fruition. Plasma lances, gravity bombs, antimatter torpedoes. Everything they had was focused on the Soul's Pride. "Stellar Hammer at 75%, Kim reported. "Captain, I need to position us closer to the star for maximum effect." Lee nodded. "Do it." The Soul's Pride began moving toward the system's star, still absorbing energy from hundreds of enemy weapons. As it moved, space itself seemed to bend around it. On Harmony Nexus, aliens were fleeing in panic. Their instruments showed gravitational waves, energy distortions, and readings that suggested reality itself was becoming unstable. "What are the humans doing?" screamed one ambassador. "They're going to destroy the entire system," shouted another. "Ambassador," Joy tried to calm them, but she wasn't entirely sure they were wrong. "Stellar Hammer at 90%. Dr. Shin Nari's voice was steady despite the incredible forces building around them. "Captain, we're past the point of no return." Captain Lee looked out at the enemy fleet still firing everything they had at his ship. 200 warships from a dozen species, all trying to destroy humanity before it could reveal its ultimate weapon. He thought about Earth, about the billions of humans who trusted him to protect them. He thought about his crew, who had followed him into impossible danger without question. He thought about the future of his species in a galaxy that had just decided humanity was too dangerous to live. "Stellar hammer at 100%, Kim announced. "All systems ready." "Fire," Captain Lee said quietly. The soul's pride reached out with invisible forces and touched the star. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the star's surface erupted. A massive solar flare larger than any natural phenomenon burst from the star's corona. But this wasn't a random explosion. It was controlled, directed, weaponized. The soul's pride guided the stellar energy, like a conductor directing an orchestra. The flare washed over the enemy fleets like a tsunami of pure energy. Ships that had been built to survive the void of space suddenly found themselves bathed in the raw power of stellar fire. But the energy didn't destroy them. Instead, it overloaded every system they had. Engines shut down. Weapons went offline. Life support flickered. Communications failed. 200 of. The silence that followed Captain Lee's ultimatum lasted for exactly 7 minutes and 34 seconds. Then slowly, the responses began to come in. The first voice belonged to Elder Keth, the ancient leader of the Keth Empire. His communication signal was weak, coming from a ship so old that most species had forgotten it still existed. "Human captain," the elder's voice was like wind through ancient trees. "I have lived for 6,000 years. I have seen civilizations rise and fall like waves on a shore. I have never seen anything like what you have just done." Captain Lee waited respectfully. Elder Keth was a legend throughout the galaxy, a being who had witnessed the birth of entire species. "You have shown us that you can destroy star systems," the elder continued. "But more importantly, you have shown us that you choose not to. That choice, that is the mark of true civilization." High Admiral Vextar's voice followed, humble in a way it had never been before. "Captain Lee, I formally surrender my fleet to your mercy. We were wrong to threaten humanity. We ask for your forgiveness." War Chief Mordak, the proud warrior whose ships had been famous for never retreating, spoke next. "Human warriors, you have shown strength beyond imagining, but also honor beyond measure. The Bruthan Confederation requests peace." One by one, the other fleet commanders followed. Species that had traveled across the galaxy to destroy humanity now begged for mercy from beings they had dismissed as primitive just hours before. On Harmony Nexus, the mood in the council chamber had completely changed. The alien ambassadors who had been calling for human extinction now sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had witnessed. Counselor Beiji Hoon, Earth's senior diplomat, had arrived during the battle aboard a small transport ship. He was an elderly man with kind eyes and a lifetime of experience in interstellar relations. "Honored representatives," he said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. "Humanity has demonstrated our ability to defend ourselves. But that was never our goal. We came here seeking friendship, alliance, and mutual prosperity." The crystal-skinned alien who had called for humanity's destruction earlier now spoke in a much different tone. "But your power, your technology, how can we trust beings who can manipulate stars themselves?" "The same way you trust any civilization," Bay replied gently. "By our actions over time. Today we showed you our strength. Now let us show you our character." Back in the asteroid field, the Soul's Pride was already beginning to restore power to the disabled alien ships. Chief Engineer Kim Do-won had teams working around the clock to repair the systems that Stellar Hammer had overloaded. "Captain," Dr. Shin Nari reported, "we're bringing the Keth flagship back online first. Their life support was failing." Captain Lee nodded. "Good. Make sure their medical bay has full power. I want their wounded treated immediately." Lieutenant Yoon Ji-woo looked up from her communications console. "Sir?" We're receiving requests for medical assistance from dozens of ships. Some of their crew were injured when their systems failed. Send our medical teams to any ship that needs help, Lee ordered immediately. No questions asked, no conditions. Sergeant Major Oh Sang-ho stepped forward. Sir, are you sure that's wise? These aliens were trying to kill us an hour ago. That's exactly why it's important, Lee replied. Anyone can help their friends. It takes real strength to help your enemies. Dr. Lim Yun-seo's image appeared on the communication screen from Europa. The scientist looked exhausted but satisfied. Captain, Stellar Hammer performed better than our most optimistic projections. We have enough data to build planetary defense, systems that could protect entire star systems. Doctor, will other species be able to duplicate this technology? Dr. Lim shook her head. Not for centuries, if ever. Stellar manipulation requires a complete understanding of quantum mechanics, gravitational theory, and stellar physics. Most species are still working with primitive fusion technology. Admiral Song's voice came through from Earth Command. Captain Lee, you've done something incredible today. The entire galaxy now knows that humanity cannot be threatened with extinction, but with great power comes great responsibility. I understand, sir. We'll use this power wisely. I know you will. That's why I chose you for this mission. Over the next few hours, something amazing happened. As human medical teams boarded alien ships to help with injuries, as human engineers worked to repair damaged systems, the attitudes of the enemy crews began to change. Major Han Min-soo, now out of his fighter and aboard a Bruthan warship, was helping their engineers restart their main engines. The alien crew watched in amazement as he worked alongside them without any sign of superiority or revenge. Why are you helping us? Asked the Bruthan chief engineer. We tried to kill you. Han looked up from the power coupling he was repairing. Because you're hurt, and we can help. It's that simple. On another ship, Dr. Shin Nari was treating injured Nexari crew members. Their crystal-based physiology was completely different from human biology, but she worked tirelessly to understand their needs. Your people, one wounded Nexari said weakly. They could have destroyed us all. Why didn't they? Because that's not who we are, Dr. Shin replied gently. Humans believe that every life has value, even the lives of our enemies. The word spread quickly through the disabled fleets. The humans who had just demonstrated godlike power were now risking their own safety to help the beings who had tried to destroy them. Prime Navigator Silenth, her ship now partially restored, sent a private message to Captain Lee. Captain, may I ask you a personal question? Of course. Your species has technology that could conquer the entire galaxy. Why don't you? Lee was quiet for a moment, looking out at the stars. Because conquest isn't victory. Real victory is making enemies into allies. Real strength is knowing when not to use your power. But surely you must want something in return. For your mercy? We want what we've always wanted. To be part of the galactic community. To share knowledge. To explore together. To build something better than any of us could create alone. Elder Keth's ancient ship slowly approached the Soul's Pride. The old being requested permission to come aboard, and Lee granted it immediately. The Elder was escorted to the bridge by Sergeant Major O, who treated the alien leader with the respect due to his age and wisdom. Elder Keth moved slowly, supported by technology that kept his ancient body functioning. Captain Lee, Elder Keth said, I have a request. Name it. I wish to study your tactical methods, not your technology. That is yours to share or keep as you choose. But your approach to conflict, your strategy of allowing enemies to underestimate you while planning their defeat, this is something the galaxy needs to learn. Lee smiled. I would be honored to share our tactical doctrine with you, Elder. Perhaps you could teach us about the deep history of the galaxy in return. It would be my privilege. War Chief Mordak's request was different. Captain Lee, my warriors have fought countless battles, but we have never seen anything like your discipline under fire. Would you consider training some of our officers in human military methods? We could arrange an exchange program. Lee replied. Your warriors could learn from us, and our soldiers could learn from you. As the hours passed, more and more requests came in. Species that had come to destroy humanity now wanted to learn from them, trade with them, even form alliances with them. The final message came from the Galactic Council itself. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was not only accepted into the galactic community but was granted a permanent seat on the High Council, a position reserved for the most advanced civilizations. But perhaps more importantly, humanity was classified as a Tier 1 protective power, meaning other species could request human protection against threats they couldn't handle alone. Captain Lee stood on his bridge, watching as the last of the disabled alien ships regained full power. The enemy fleets were transforming into something else, not quite allies yet, but no longer enemies. "Captain," Commander Park Soo-jin said quietly, "we've received formal requests for defensive alliances from 15 different species. They want humanity to help protect them." "And what do you think we should tell them?" Park smiled. "I think we should tell them that humanity keeps its